Well, in today's life and career coaching moment, I have the opportunity to talk to Lorna Bramley, a well-regarded career coach and counselor from Edmonton, Alberta, who is going to share with us in how to become a career coach today, her own career path. So Lorna, thank you for being with us today.
Yes, you're welcome.
Can you take us back, Lorna? How did this interest in even becoming a career coach and counselor start for those who are interested in this field? Where did it start in your life?
Well, I was, in essence, granted the position after I finished my undergraduate degree. I was hired by an employer, and at first I was in a different role, and they must have seen something more natural in me than what I even knew I had, or even knew that there was an opportunity. And they put me in this very peculiar position called employment counselor. And I had no clue what I was getting into, and I actually was wondering why I was put in it. And it actually baffled me for several years to come, as far as why am I in here and what am I supposed to do in life, and what is my real true calling. And I was actually somewhat confused for a while, because I was trained in my undergraduate degree in a whole different area. So to me, I was granted this. It was like a gift. And I never really discovered truly that I was meant to be in the position till several years later.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so that's how it began, and I actually began with on-the-job training, and I call it training by osmosis. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, because I do indicate to individuals interested in going into the field, osmosis is not the way to do it. But I certainly gained a lot of experience, and I did get hands-on guidance. And I was mentored by some of the prominent professionals in the field.
Now, what was your undergraduate degree in initially?
Recreation administration.
Interesting. And why did you choose that undergraduate degree?
Because I was very sports oriented in my my younger years. I was actually a coach in sports. So I loved it. I loved coaching. I was athletic. I played sports. I actually became into a lot of leadership roles, and I like organizing and guiding and coaching and helping people to develop their skills. And so others saw those things in me. As I evolved, I did get direction from the wise and the others, the elders, I guess, that guided me somewhat.
Well, and I think that's important to know, that your interest in recreation management was also your skills as a coach, right? In guiding and empowering people. For those
Correct.
interested in this field, I think that's a very essential element. So in that first job you got through osmosis, talk to us about the guiding you did at the beginning of your career. What did the job entail as an employment counselor the first time?
Yeah, and as an employment counselor, I'm going to make a comment here, because back in the day, and it was several years ago, the title counselor was attached just automatically. I had no training, I had no credentialing or formal, certifications or designations at that time, and I was called an employment counselor. And so what I was working with was special needs populations. And so I started to work with, they're called developmentally delayed, individuals who have developmental delays. In those days, they used different terms, and wouldn't be politically correct nowadays. However, I was working with special populations, and one population after another. I then went up in the ranks and became a director of a youth at risk program. And I really enjoyed working with all these different individuals who were having challenges. and really enjoying the opportunity to get to know them as individuals, get to know their challenges. And to me, every individual I worked with was, an individual who I respected and I got to know, and I helped them to overcome their challenges.
Well, that's fantastically gratifying, is it not? I hear you speak about it.
Yeah.
You knew them all as an individual, and you probably cheered them on in their journey, the struggles and challenges inherent in them.
Absolutely, and I built rapport with them. I was working with youth who would, youth at risk who, come in with their leather coats and their tattoos and that exterior that was very threatening to some people, and I just accepted them for who they were. And to this day, I love working with youth. Absolutely, yeah.
That's fantastic. What kind of training did you have to, as you learned on the job, what do you have to be good at to be, first of all, in your first role, an employment counselor with youth at risk and persons with disabilities? What are the skills you need?
One of the most important things is what I've learned in my journey as a counselor and as a coach, but also as an individual, a human being on this journey of life. Acceptance, very important, high importance to be able to accept who walks in your presence. And if you get triggered, you have to be ready to be able to do something about getting triggered in a case where something unexpected may happen when the person walks in your personal surrounding, and you got to be prepared for that. So understanding oneself and having the skill of really checking into what's going on inside yourself as the person guiding the other, and to really have a clear understanding of, an individual is an individual, and to accept them and not pass judgment or bring your biases into the room. That cannot occur. It has to, truly be an openness and an acceptance, genuine acceptance of the individual.
Which we should have anyway. It's a nice group to bring to counseling and coaching, and we can bring to life as well. Talk to us about the organization, Lorna, in terms of helping these people in your first role with finding a job. What happens in the day of an employment counselor?
Okay, you're talking back in the day, or
yes,
okay.
Start with your first job.
Yeah. What I was doing, I had a caseload, and so I had to manage. I had to keep track of who the person was and what their situation was, and I needed to take notes, and I had to really be organized in keeping track of who's who and what did I do with them, and where am I where are we going together on this journey, and what does the person need, and what tools have I used. And so a lot of recording of details and having plans and a structure so that you're taking them through a process, and it is not just an informal interaction. It is a guided process with a plan, and it's the employment counselor's job to be in charge of the process and know what tools to use and be very versed on them, and knowing what you've done with them and in what order, and do I have to shift and change and add something else. You have to be very flexible, and you have to know your resources.
Sounds like you have to be organized and emotionally intuitive to be able.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's very important to be aware of where you're heading and how you're taking a person through the process. Yeah.
After this role, and you did this for a number of years, where did you move from being an employment counselor, being a director, and then what happened after that?
What happened was I actually was approached by an outside organization. They approached me and asked me to come to develop a career development division. And so I took up the opportunity. I was ready for another opportunity, and I was brought in to help at that time nursing assistants to deal with the first time ever challenge of this population, this working occupation group, were getting laid off for the first time in their history, and they were in total shock. We're talking about a major recession back at that time, and it was happening not only in my city or province, but it was happening in Canada. And nursing, the nursing population were at a loss of what to do. So the actual union approached me and asked me to form a career development department and help this occupational group to get through the rough time.
Wow, very exciting to be able to design your own program. How many years were you involved in this?
I was involved about 2 or 3 years, and at that time I developed a lot of different programs, even helping the nursing assistants, now called licensed practical nurses, and nursing assistants. I helped them with entrepreneurial training programs. I helped them with career guidance, helping to give them the tools and techniques again of how to go on, and what other roles can they play, and how can they stay within their industry, how can they exit, and what other roles can they transfer into. So it was a lot of guiding, counseling, coaching, developing programs. I trained and hired staff to run the different programs. I was in my glory because I am very much entrepreneurial, and I like to have a concept and bring it into reality. That's one of the things I love to do.
Have a concept and bring it into reality. So project management.
Yes.
What about the education and training for bringing these programs to the nurses? After you were an employment counselor and you weren't specifically trained in that area, how did you continue the education in this area?
Well, I actually really spent more time focusing on the executive roles that I took on. So I kept getting opportunities and writing proposals and designing programs and hiring staff, and so I became an executive director, and an assistant executive director. And so I was liking this thing called management, and I liked this, developing the aspects within the organizations, not just helping with the frontline delivery, but I was developing programs now, and I was training staff, and I was overseeing departments. So that's where my life went for a while in the world of work, is more focusing on program development and having a management and directorship role. So it was on-the-job training again for several years again. So I was really just immersed into the world of work and really into my career. Yeah.
Right. What about people that want to get more involved in training in terms of different areas? Like you had on-the-job training, but for those who need the experience to get these type of jobs in employment counseling and coaching and management.
Right. Yeah.
Where would you suggest that people look into, or what programs should they look into?
Well, so I'll add what happened is I was actually on the job training and getting a lot of experience for about 20 years. So 20 years went by, and then I started to go, what am I going to do into the future now? And so I started looking into, I was grandfathered in, and that was what happened to me. I got grandfathered into 2 different professional bodies and associations. And so then I started getting my designations, because I was at the grassroots of these new organizations and associations. So what I did, though, is I thought, okay, now where am I heading? And so I started to look at a future. And so I did get my designations, and then I decided, what is it that I truly need to do what I really love, which is helping individuals on a one-on-one or group basis. And so I decided to get a master's degree in counseling, because I knew, because I went into my own business now. So at that point, I wanted to have a position, or to strategize a way that I could position myself to be in my own business moving into the future. And what I determined by talking to professionals in the field, by talking to associations of the certain disciplines that are out there for these roles I was in, I talked to people, I researched, I read online, and I looked at calendars at universities, and I read until I talked and I read until I found something that resonated. And getting a counseling master's degree, a graduate degree, a diploma, I felt that was essential. And I know it was a very good decision, because that's where we are now. Is a master's degree in counseling is a necessity to be I call a capital C counselor. It's common knowledge in Canada to know that in order for yourself to call yourself a counselor now, it is you have to have a master's degree in counseling. And so that's what I do emphasize to others. I do teach at a university here in Edmonton, and my class is on an introduction to counseling, and I do emphasize that to the students, that in order to call yourself a counselor, you need to look into getting a graduate degree. So I did get my graduate degree later in life, and it was one of the best things I did, because I am a bona fide career counselor. And then I took training to be a certified or a authorized and bona fide coach. So that's where our future is going, is to be certified, or to have certain credentials, and to have your designations recognized, and for yourself to be competent and trained, and following guidelines, and ensuring you're following the ethics that are involved, and the aspects to be able to to be in the profession.
Talk about counseling and coaching. Let's explain the difference to you. You got certified as a master's in counseling, and you got some certification in coaching, including solutions-focused coaching.
Correct.
Talk to us about the difference. If somebody's interested in being a coach or a counselor.
Right. Well, they are two distinct, occupation types and professional roles. To me, and I like to use the athlete as a metaphor. To me, a counselor would be an individual who's taking the time to help an athlete, if we use that metaphor, who has something that has happened to take them off the playing field. So they may have, strained a muscle, or they might have broke a leg or broke a limb. They cannot play for a while, and so they are out off on the sideline, and they have some kind of intervention going on medically, and they have to take the time to recover. And so there's something holding them back from playing in the field. And so counseling is taking the time to help to deal what's caused the change that occurred from playing to not playing, and what's holding that person back. And so counseling is helping to to identify what is holding one back, what are the obstacles, what are the hurdles. And the counselor, and the career counselor in this case, would help to identify what the obstacles are and how to overcome them. Coaching, on the other hand, is the individual is on the playing field. They're doing, you know, quite well, but there's something that they need a little coaching on, maybe to enhance their skill sets, or to give them some resources, or ways to practice and apply new techniques, and new strategies. And so to help them to become a better player so that they can move in that field and move in transition into to being that, you know, to be able to score those points, or to get in the world of work, to get that meaningful job, or to get where that person wants to in life.
That's a wonderful metaphor that helps people who are looking at either the counseling or the coaching vein, and you happen to have both in your pocket. Yes. You have both sides of training. There are also different areas for people to get into, as you know very well, Lorna, and you have experience with your own company, Resources with Results, with retirement, you call yourself a VR specialist, vocational rehabilitation specialist, and career transition. Can you talk to us about the potential for people who are interested in helping people with career transition, about those areas that you specialize in?
Okay, so specialization is important, and part of it is some of it naturally unfolds. We tend to, you know, as human nature is that we gravitate to things that draw us. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I was working with special need populations. Well, I think most of us have special needs. I don't think just having categories of people saying this population is, you know, has this and this I think we all have some form of special need. That's my opinion. And so the vocational rehabilitation side came naturally to me because I kept helping populations. But I take it as helping an individual to overcome something that they're having a challenge with. So the vocational rehabilitation side became a major part of my focus in my business. And I really enjoy working with that, you know, that population and providing that service. And so I became, I have a designation. I'm a registered rehabilitation professional. I'm a registered vocational professional, and I have a master's certificate as a vocational professional. So again, I've got more credentials and designations and a governing professional body that I am held to, to be in this profession. So it is an actual formalized role that I do have, and it's one of my hats I wear. And so it has become a specialty. I've also merged my career development side, because I am a certified career development professional. And I merged the two, and I am one of the rare individuals that has this kind of practice, not only in Edmonton, but in Canada. And I've merged the two specialties, and to me, I mean, the client doesn't know the difference. Most of the time they are coming in, they just want the support. But I've got more tools and more of a specialty to merge together to help the person in a much more comprehensive manner. And so the specialties help to provide my service in a more comprehensive, I guess, more in depth, and helping a person in many more ways. My other specialty of retirement, I just, again, really like to working with different populations. And because I've worked with youth, who are the ones that are coming into the workforce, now we are having a lot of the baby boomer population wanting support, not only to know what to do when they become retired, but how to get back even into the world of work after they retire. So I was very curious about that end of the spectrum. And so I became trained as a retirement planning specialist. So not financial planning, it was activity planning and helping individuals to identify what they're suited for as far as their role and purpose as they go into retirement or come back into the world of work after retiring. So now I've got the whole spectrum of populations as well.
You do have the whole spectrum, and all of these systems, Lorna, well, I call them systems. You must have systems in place. You said you have retirement certification. Where did you train for that? Did you take a course in dealing with people who are retired?
Yeah, I took training from her name is Nell Smith, and she does provide training, and she's provide training for individuals all across coming all across Canada. And I was the inaugural group that she trained. In 2010, there was a group of us that asked Nell to share her knowledge and her wisdom about working with that population, and she had developed a program, and so she trained us, and I've got her license to operate she has a workshop, and she's written a book, she published a book, and so her book is out, and so we use her materials, and her book has a resource and many other resources to deliver workshops for individuals that are wanting to gain some insight before they retire on what they can do as activity and a purpose, to have a purpose going into retirement.
Sure. So it sounds like there are lots of different avenues, university, independence. How do people navigate if they want to get into becoming a career coach or counselor? What's the best place to start?
To be a career coach. I would encourage people to talk to experts who are recognized and are operating in the community as a coach. Find out what they have as a credential or certification. Research, talk to more than one or two, talk to many coaches that are already established. Research what associations are out there to get training and certification under, because there are different options. Get clear on what the options are, explore them, try them out. I'm a believer in trying things out, and even being in the presence of a service or an operation, so that you get a feel for it and you experience it before you delve into some of these things. So talking to people, getting into the experience and the environment, and see what it's like. Volunteer your own time. Observe individuals delivering a service, and then just read and research, and even take a short course. But even getting the service in your own experience, that you access a coach to coach you, and see what it's like to be coached.
Mm-hmm.
So recipient of the service is another option. So many things to just get exposed to it, and talk to people, and find out what other people have done to become coaches and certified coaches.
And last but not least, Lorna, because you've had amazing experience in the field and you've transitioned into different areas, going back to your love in high school of sports and coaching, it's amazing how it all comes around. You would give to people who would like to be a career coach or counselor. What type of person do you think suits this field?
Well, people are definitely the counselors and the coaches. So in Myers-Briggs, it's the Myers-Briggs MBTI would be the NF component, those NF individuals with the intuition and the feeling. And so these are our helpers and our nurturers and people who value people. And so those are our key career counselors and career coaches, is the ones that are really, truly there to serve and support and guide individuals and to, really care about the human element. Absolutely.
Well, you obviously do, Lorna. It's written all over you as you speak about the people you've served. And I want to thank you in today's Life and Career Corner on how to become a career coach or counselor for your wisdom and feedback for those listening.
Okay, thank you. It was a pleasure.